Hey everybody, it's Dr. Jensen with CCJ 3701 Research Methods in Criminology. Let's walk through some language in using to interpret results for logistic regression analyses. So this is from the sample paper that you have, and here it kind of shows you some of the language to use. Now remember, you're talking about likelihoods or odds of things happening, and so that's how you're going to be writing it up. So let's start with Model 1. And we'll look at this strictness variable. This goes back to knowing how you measured everything. You have to know how strictness was measured. Was it a scale where you increased in your strictness or decreased in it? Was it just you're strict, yes or no? Or, was it ordinal, like you're kind of strict or sort of strict or not really strict? So you have to remember what increases and decreases mean, or whether category changes happen in order to use the correct language. So this 1.384 on the strictness scale, let's read about what they said. Through the comparison of the strictness of the respondent's religion and the likelihood that he or she would answer it's always important to obey laws and regulations, the relationship is statistically significant. So you can start with saying, yeah, it actually does make a prediction of a relationship. Model 1 showed that for every one category increase in strictness, meaning you're going from maybe less strict to more strict, they were 1.384 times more likely to answer that it is very important to obey all laws and regulations. So it actually increased the likelihood that someone would say that. And then you talk about the pseudo R squared. It explains a very tiny amount, only 1.9% of the total variance of the likelihood that someone would answer it's always important to obey laws and regulations, which is not very much. That's pretty weak. So meaning there's going to be other variables that contribute more to the explanation of what can predict if people are going to obey laws. Model 2, we're going to move into that model. Now we have two variables, and again, you only talk about the ones that are significant. The ones that are not, you simply say, it's no longer significant, and then you move on to the ones that are, okay? So you can talk about it being 1.2 times more likely, or 0.88 times less likely. So again, greater than 1, less than 1. Those are the kinds of things you're saying about logistic regression. You can also kind of convert it as to a percent. So you could convert this 0.886 to 88% less likely. You could convert this anything over 1, the little decimal like 1.152. You could say it's 15% more likely that that would happen. Okay. If it's a larger number like a 2 or a 3, you could say it's twice as likely, it's 3 times as likely, it's 200% more likely for that to happen, because a 1 is kind of like 100%. Okay? And again, put the constant Nagle-Kirke values in there in the n, and you can write this up in a lot of ways. You can say that something remained significant, okay, but that it reduced a little bit than it did before, so that way you don't have to rehash and say the same thing over and over again. You can say something was now no longer significant, okay? And again, you kind of reiterate the meaning of it. That's what it actually means. So look at this. In Model 3, the focal relationship, and that is that main relationship, okay, the relationship of focus, was no longer statistically significant when controlling for level of education. So suddenly, education became more important than just religion, okay? And then it actually talks about that. Level of education was found to have a statistically significant relation with the dependent variable, and you could literally say with abiding by the laws, showing that for every 1 year increase in the respondent's education, they were less likely to answer that it's important to obey the laws and regulations. Huh, that's kind of interesting. So the more educated you get, I guess the more rebellious you get, or you question the law. I don't know. And so forth. So you just use that kind of language to describe the result, and you want to, again, try to not be too redundant with what you say, and you can use the example to kind of power through that a little bit. But it's pretty straightforward. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.